All right, guys, we're back. We're going to go in the trenches here. We're going to go to some tech stocks that have been acting really well. Scott, you want to start with Apple because it almost touched that 360, right, but then pulled back. So what does that mean?
It just means that it wasn't ready to go. Apple's had a big move. It's consolidating well. I've been trying to be long, and we've been talking about it as a must-own if you're an investor. If it gets above 360, we might get that momentum trade to the old highs of 364.40, and then it's on its way. I'm not sure if it's going to happen before earnings or after earnings, but I'm watching it close. I'm long. Today could be that little momentum cash flow, though.
And doesn't Apple kind of suffer from the buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing?
Well, sometimes they have a great report and then they guide lower. So investors don't know what to do. Traders don't know what to do. They don't know if it's for real or not. But if you look at the chart here, let me just show you Apple. You know, this is this long descending channel that we were talking about, nice consolidation. Here is one entry we talked about around 338. Now it's holding above this descending channel. Your next entry for momentum is above 360 as we just had a nice little pause, and then we could see higher prices.
All right, so let's go to Netflix because, you know, the stock has been doing so well. Got an overweight rating from JP Morgan, but I've been reading a lot of articles that have been very negative on the stock, especially if individuals are going to have to pay more for their bandwidth in addition to paying more for streaming videos from Netflix. That could really hurt their customers. And funny enough, I guess if you searched Twitter yesterday, cancel Netflix was a very hot search trend.
I think a lot of shorts are doing whatever they can to get out of this stock because they've been shorting it since 150, and the stock's been going just up, up, up. You know, so as many negative articles that are being written, a lot of traders are still accumulating. It was at highs. It was above the highs yesterday. It was a little tricky. You know, Netflix opened up, went through that 301.50, went to about 305, 306, and then reversed. So if you look up here, it is a little choppy. I think this stock is in a void until you see the earnings next week. It is near the highs. It's above all the moving averages. Some of the clean moves are happening. I don't like choppy type action here. So if you are an investor, maybe, you know, hedge yourself a little bit with some in-the-money calls, or if you're in a lot of size still, sell some and then figure out what happens after the earnings.
And then with Amazon, looking at wanting to hit some highs there, do you think it's going to make it?
I think there will be new highs for Amazon. Amazon obviously has earnings next week, and that's what happens during earnings season. It gets a little tricky because things perform technically going into earnings, and then you have to figure out your risk after. And Amazon's been one of the chosen ones, made new highs before the indices, and this is still a leader, and we'll definitely need to see what they say next week.
And Baidu had a really strong day yesterday as well. You were recommending that as more of an investor play. Would this be the time to get interested?
Baidu has a great pattern, and I want to show you that right now because traders today will be looking at this. Okay, you had a nice move off the lows. We talked about this around 127. It's now consolidating in this mid-level range here. This gets above 146. I think you could see a momentum move back to these highs. And also Sina, which has been
up 8%. That was crazy.
Yeah, and that one looks good too. That one already broke this descending channel we talked about yesterday. If you look at Sina right here, Sina had a big move lower, held the 200-day. This was one entry. We talked about around 93.5, came up, stopped at this descending channel, held higher here, and now it looks like you could add on it once it gets through this 115 area for a move back to higher resistance.
But for an investor, you still advise them not to hit this one, to go to Baidu instead.
It depends on their risk. You know, with risk, there's reward. This one moves when it wants to move, but when it corrects, it happens quick. So as a trader, it's great intraday because there are big moves. For an investor, I love you guys to be involved in the things that move. Just know your risk.